So hello you guys, in my last video we were talking about Oauth 2 and how to configure Oauth 2 and a couple of issues that I have configured Oauth 2. Well, in this video we fix all those issues and we configure everything and we test it on the developer portal on Azure and we test it on Postman too on Azure. Watch the video and see how the steps are. I'm gonna try to put a PDF file with all the steps out the PDF file that I built with all the steps that you need to configure the AD applications in Azure and this Oauth 2 server in the API Manager Studio in Azure and all the testing, and you can watch the video. Maybe there's a couple of different steps in the PDF file because I didn't do it in order while I was recording the video, but it's gonna be almost the same. So, thank you. So, hello you guys. Let's protect our API with Oauth 2 authentication and Azure AD or Azure Active Directory in API management. This is not going to require any code on your API. This is going to be using the policies on the API, and we're going to test it on Postman, and we're going to test it on the Azure Developer Portal. We're going to use the API is already created in our Azure in the API management services. So the API that we're going to use is the Echo API. So if you create a Azure free account, you will be able to do the same stuff that I'm doing here, following these steps. There's a couple of stuff that I already did. I'm not gonna lie, I already test this to make it function. I just want to show you how it works and how to do it, because I have to grab information from different places, even ask Microsoft itself how they do this stuff. There's a couple of answers that Microsoft didn't answer, so I want to show you how I do it and how it's working right now. If you saw my last video, you're gonna see that there's a bunch of stuff that is failing. I fixed all those issues, and I'm gonna I'm gonna put a link of the video somewhere in this video. So let's start this. I'm gonna follow these instructions, and I'm gonna add a couple of stuff that I have in my notes that I already built. So let's go. The first step is go to the Azure Active Directory. We're gonna follow these steps again. Here's the link. Take a look at the link. I'm gonna put this over the top just to follow these exact instructions. So let's go to Azure Active Directory. I'm sorry for my English, it's not so good, but let's do it. Let's try to understand this. So I already have the two apps. I'm gonna create two more. So let's start with the first app. It's gonna the steps that Microsoft gave you is telling you that create a new app, use a name. We're gonna use another name like let's use public test Oauth 2 backend. We're gonna use the accounts in this organization directory only, and we're gonna click on the option web, and we're gonna leave empty the redirectional URI. We're gonna click on register. The step 5 says go to our review an application ID and create an application ID. So we're gonna go here to redirect URLs, or you can go to API permission expose API. But if you click here, it's gonna take you right away. I'm sorry, it wasn't this one. In this add an application ID URL. We're gonna set a URI. We're gonna save it, and we're gonna save on these notes here. And we're gonna do backend client ID URL, and let's save it here. I think let's paste everything. I'm working on Mac, but this stuff works on Windows too. So it's the same procedure. So it doesn't matter. Okay, it's not pasting and everything. Let's go back, copy to clipboard, and paste. Now it works. So the second step that I have, let me take a look here. So now we're gonna add a scope. And the scope with that we're gonna add is user read. We're gonna leave only, and you need to add a consent. I'm gonna add almost the same. I'm sorry for the mistypo. User read. We add the scope, and we're gonna make a note about this scope. How we clip and scope. Okay, paste. Once we have that, we're gonna create another application which is gonna be the front. So we're gonna go back. Let's try to use the same naming convention. So let's go back, default directory, new registration. But this time we're gonna name it client. We're gonna use the same option, the first option, web, and we're gonna leave the redirection URL empty. After that, we're gonna go and we're gonna create an ad ID, and we're gonna save it. Then we're gonna go to the certificates and secrets, and we're gonna create a new client secret. If you wanna leave the description blank, you can do it. Take this advice, copy the value of the client secret at once because it's gonna hashtag the values, so you're not gonna be able to read it. So client secret, and we paste this in there. Then we're gonna grant permissions to the backend API to the front end API. So we're gonna go to the API permissions, and we're gonna add permissions. We're gonna click on My APIs, and we're gonna select our backend API, and we're gonna select the user read scope that we choose. We're gonna click on Add, and then after that, we're gonna grant consent for the file directory. Based on the steps that we have on the documentations on Microsoft, the servers are ready. So we're gonna go and we're gonna create a new server in our API management services. So we're gonna go here to Oauth to Open ADI. We're gonna click on Add, and we're gonna put a name, public Oauth 2 that test that server. We can name it that way. Description, you can leave description empty. Client registration, this is when you use another Oauth 2 services. We're gonna use internal Oauth services. So you just use a placeholder like localhost. Be aware to use HTTPS, because if you don't use HTTPS, it's gonna throw an error. Then we need the authorization endpoints URL and the authorization and the token endpoint URL. We're gonna grab that from our client application. We're gonna go overview, endpoints, and we're gonna copy the version 2. Guys, copy the version 2 only and paste it in the authorization endpoint URL. Then we're gonna grab the Oauth to the token endpoint. We're gonna copy that and we're gonna paste it in the token endpoint, and we're gonna select the post method to do the authorizations. We're gonna go down and we're gonna copy the default scope. Is that link that we have in our notepad, and we're gonna paste it on the default scope. We're gonna grab the client credentials and we're gonna use the client ID that we have for our client application or our front end application. And we're gonna paste it in the client and we're gonna use the client secret. We're gonna leave resource owner username and resource owner password empty. We don't need to do that. And we're gonna click on create. One more thing, and this is an important step that you need to do. And this is one of the issues that I had before. If you copy redirect URI and you paste it in the redirectional URI in the application, in the client applications, it's gonna fail for some reason that it's failing. So use the redirect URI deprecated portal. That's the one is working. Copy the first value authorization graph flow. We're gonna paste that in our node block and our notepad. Sorry, and we're gonna click create. Then after that, we're gonna go back our applications, and in the add redirection URL, we're gonna click on add platform web, and we're gonna paste our URL we just copied from the server. We're gonna click configure, and we're gonna go to the manifest, and we're gonna change this value, access token at set version, and we're gonna put the number 2. It's gonna use the version 2. Why is using the version 2? I'm gonna show you right away. It's because if we go to here, overview, endpoints, you're gonna see we're using the Oauth 2.0 authorization endpoint v2. That's the reason why. After we finish this, we're gonna go back again to the register applications. I'm sorry, I went too far. Application, and we're gonna go to our application backend. In the application backend, we're gonna go to expose an API. This is a step that it's not in the documentation, so we need to do this. And we're gonna add the client ID. The client ID of our front end application. So how do we do that? We copy we need to find the client ID of the front application. So let's go back again. Let's copy the value. This is the client ID. And actually, let's paste the client ID here. And we have the value in there. Okay, let's go again to the backend application, expose API, add a client application. We're gonna paste the client ID of the front application. See, it's different, this one as this one. And we're gonna authorize the scope from the backend application, and we're gonna click add. This is an important step to do. In our backend applications, we're gonna go to the manifest 2, and we're gonna change the access token upset version to the number 2, which is version 2. I'll already explain why is that. We're gonna click save. Notice that the backend application doesn't have a redirect URI. That's gonna stay in that way. We're not gonna create a platform for that. That's gonna be the backend applications. Okay, now that we have both applications already created, the client on the backend application on the Azure AD, and we have the server created on our Oauth 2 API management servers, and you can see the application that we're gonna use is public Oauth 2 test servers. Now we're gonna configure the API to handle this authorization flow. So we're gonna select, we're gonna go to API. We're gonna select the API that we're gonna use. In this case, we're going to use the Echo API, and we're gonna go to settings. In settings, we're gonna scroll down till we find the security option, and we're gonna choose Oauth 2. You're gonna see a drop-down list, and the drop-down list, you're gonna select the server that you wanna use. In this case, it's public Oauth 2 test servers. If you want, you can leave the subscription key check. I'm gonna do it. So let's click save, and it's already configured. So we're gonna go to the Azure Developer Portal, or your Azure Developer Portal, and we're gonna go to APIs. Remember to go to the Azure Developer Portal. Is your instance.portal.azure.api.net. We're gonna click on Echo API, and we're gonna retrieve some resources. We're gonna click here. Then we're gonna click on try. We're gonna paste our subscription key. Copy and paste it. And you can see the subscription key going to subscriptions, and inside the subscriptions, you're gonna grab the subscription that work for you. I grabbed the unlimited one. After you do that, in the drop-down list in the authorization, you see the server that we create in there. You're gonna select authorization code. And in the authorization code, it's gonna tell you when it's gonna start the token, and it's gonna create the token for you. And let's do a testing without the authorization code. No authorization code. Let's run it. He said that the header value is required. So let's choose the authorization code again. Let's click send. And we have a response. The thing with this response is like it's working on the Azure Developer Portal. But if we go and copy this value on Postman, let's create a new window as Postman. Let's go to the header because we need a subscription key. Actually, I'm not gonna type the value that we need for the subscription key. Just gonna put here in key header, and let's just directly a subscription key. I'm just gonna edit this value so you don't see it and you don't have access to this. Actually, I'm gonna delete all these servers after we finish this for security reasons, but I paste the value in there. Let's click send, and you see we have response 200 from the server without using Oauth 2. And the reason is we need to create a policy, and we don't need to create a policy in our code application, in our .NET Core application, or the application that you knew it. We can create a policy here in our API, and I'm going to show you right away. So we're going to go to APIs. We're going to select our Echo API, and I'm going to create that policy in that inbound policy for all the methods that we have in here. So let's add an inbound processing application. Let's click here on code, and I already typed this XML value, and we're gonna paste it here in the inbound property. There's a couple of stuff that we need to change, and I see here, and you see here in my notes, I put client ID and client ID again. So we're gonna find the client ID. I have this in my notes, and you can find the client ID. We're gonna go back to this tab where there's Azure AD, and we're gonna copy this directory tenant ID. That's the value that you're gonna need. So we're gonna go back to the API again, and we're gonna paste that value in this part of the XML tag. So we paste it in both, and we click save. Once we click save, the policy is gonna be created for all operations, and you're gonna see like on a friendly way, if you click here on the pencil, you're gonna see all the values that we put: this header, authorization, the error, the message, the issuer, and the open ID that we use, and all those value are in there. We're gonna click discard, and we're gonna test again our API in the Azure portal. Let's click send, and there you go. If we're gonna test another one, let's test another resourcer. Let's try it. Let's paste the subscription key, authorization code. It's gonna grab the authorization code. Let's click send. And we have response. Now we're gonna go back to Postman and let's test in Postman one more time. We don't have any authorization value, so we're gonna click send. And the return is gonna be 41 unauthorized error. So now we're gonna set up the authorization. We already have a bearer token, so we're gonna use the bearer token that we have here. Remember, this bearer token is gonna expire, so let's use it right away. Let's paste it. Let's paste everything. Let's copy and paste it. Let's go back to, and I already have one in here, but we're gonna paste that here. And let's send that again. Okay, let's send that again. And we have a response. Remember, don't copy the bearer word before that is before the token, because Postman is gonna paste it again. But there you go, guys. I hope this information worked for you. I'm sorry I didn't show any token or code or ID that I have in there, but the description is already there. And if you have some questions, just leave me in the comments. But the steps, I think, is very clear. So thank you. See you next time.